That day, a gentle, persistent rain began to fall. Amanda watched with a heavy heart as the droplets streamed down the window pane. Along the highway, vibrant cars splashed through puddles, racing somewhere beneath the darkened sky. On the windowsill, a cup of fragrant, freshly brewed coffee sat, made from beans ground nearby. "You don't seem like yourself today," Barista Jim remarked with an encouraging smile as Amanda placed her order. "Is the weather getting you down?" "Yeah, it's a factor," she replied wearily. "Busy at work?" Jim inquired politely. "A lot of manicures these days." "About as much as coffee gets consumed. My clients all leave after their appointments," Amanda replied, her voice lacking enthusiasm. "And yet you seem especially glum today." "I just wish I could escape on a vacation, somewhere by the sea," Amanda muttered softly. She didn't want to tell him the truth, that she had been struggling to conceive for a year now. Today, those thoughts weighed heavier than ever. How many doctors had she visited? How many tests had been endured? How much anxiety and money had been exhausted? The outcome had always been the same: 0 results. Doctors simply shrugged their shoulders, assuring her that everything looked fine. In desperation, Amanda had even sought out healers and turned to alternative medicine, despite her skepticism. But nothing fruitful came from those efforts. Only her money vanished without a trace. She had prayed in church, tears streaming down her face, pleading with God for a child, but her cries went unanswered. "Perhaps it's just not meant to be," Amanda thought resignedly. "Maybe I will have to accept a life without children." She was almost ready to give up the fight. Fatigue was settling in. Thomas, her husband, did his best to support her, encouraging her to keep trying. Amanda could only manage a wistful smile at his optimism. "Look," Thomas said one day, "I've heard stories of people who couldn't have kids at 20, and then, bam, it just happens." "Tom, those are the exceptions. More often than not, it doesn't play out like that," she replied. "But it could happen for us," Thomas insisted. Still, a flicker of hope remained in Amanda's heart, though perhaps it was time to let go of the struggle. They say miracles often follow acceptance. Her thoughts were interrupted by the ringing of her phone. It was Olivia, a regular client. "Hi, Amanda," she said nervously on the other end. "I really hate to ask, but I'm not feeling well, and the weather is terrible. I'm too anxious to drive. Could you come to my house?" Amanda glanced at the clock. Their appointment was still an hour away. "I suppose I can make it," she said hesitantly. "Can't you manage on your own?" "Not a chance," Olivia replied emphatically. "What if I lose consciousness? I can't make it to the salon with my husband. I worry about the baby. It's tough to move around at this stage. My belly feels enormous. I think I might be having a giant." Her nervous laughter made Amanda hesitate, but she soon relented. "All right, you're my last client for today. I'll be there in an hour." "Thank you so much." Amanda slowly set up her workstation, pulling her travel case from the closet and flipping it open. It had been a while since she last visited a client at home. She carefully checked her tools, gathered the nail polishes Olivia favored, then grabbed the case and stepped outside. Raindrops slid down her collar and streaked down her cheeks like tears. She hurried over puddles to her parked car, unlocked it, and slid into the driver's seat, exhaling loudly. Once she had loved the rain and its melancholic ambience, but now it felt suffocating. Olivia's address was lost to her in a text message, so Amanda entered it into her GPS. It would only take around 10 minutes to get there, less than the time it would take to get back home. Suddenly, an ache surged through her. She longed for the comfort of her quiet home, the embrace of her beloved Thomas. It would be wonderful to curl up under a soft, warm blanket, resting her head on his shoulder, confiding in him about everything weighing on her heart. After parking, Amanda buzzed the intercom, entered the building, and ascended the narrow staircase to the second floor. She pressed the doorbell. Silence hung in the air. She pressed it again. "Coming, coming," a familiar voice called from inside. The door swung open, and Amanda felt as though the ground had shifted beneath her. Standing there was Thomas. Her Thomas. "What are you doing here?" Amanda whispered, her lips pale. He wore casual sweatpants and soft slippers, and Olivia emerged behind him, her face bright with a smile. "Thomas, why are you keeping Amanda at the door? Let her in. Come in, Amanda." As Thomas stepped aside, Amanda crossed the threshold into the dim hallway, the air thick with tension. Olivia stroked her round belly with a mocking smile, alternating her gaze between Amanda and Thomas. "Well, aren't you going to say anything?" she prompted, her voice deceptively sweet. Amanda's hands trembled as she clasped them together. "Did you do this on purpose?" Thomas turned to Olivia, fury simmering beneath the surface. "Of course. How much longer could you drag this out? You'd never file for divorce yourself, and she, well, let's just say she's a bit slow to catch on. I hinted at everything during our sessions, but she didn't seem to care. I realized if I didn't act, this would just carry on." Finally regaining her voice, Amanda asked, "Aren't you ashamed for meddling in someone else's family?" "Why should I be?" Olivia shot back defiantly. "Thomas won't be happy with you. He wants a child, maybe even several, but you can't give him that." "Olivia, please be quiet," Thomas said through gritted teeth. "Amanda, let me explain." "Explain what? That you have another family? What's there to misunderstand?" She turned to Olivia, trying desperately to fight back tears. "I suppose my manicure is canceled." "Why not?" Olivia shrugged, her tone mocking. "If you want to earn money, go ahead. You're a lonely woman now, divorce. You need it, don't you? You don't have a husband to support you anymore." "Shut up," Thomas shouted, causing Olivia to recoil, clutching her stomach in fear. She sank slowly to the floor, groaning, "Not good. What have you done? You know I can't handle being scared." In a frenzy, Thomas rushed to her side, fetching water and a cushion to prop her up. Meanwhile, Amanda slipped silently out the door, tears blurring her vision, and wiped them away with trembling fingers, strangely concerned about her makeup. Why did it matter now if her mascara was running? As she entered her apartment, an eerie silence enveloped her. She paused at the threshold, listening intently, but all she could hear was the frantic beat of her heart. She realized with a sinking feeling that nothing would ever be the same again. That life she once knew had crumbled into the past. Forgive Thomas? No, that was impossible. He had betrayed her in the most twisted way. Hesitating, Amanda closed the door softly behind her, tossed her keys on the nightstand, and sank onto the ottoman. Tears that she had been holding back surged forth, cascading down her cheeks like a storm. "Why? Why?" she cried. Half an hour later, Thomas called, his voice brimming with accusations. "Olivia's in the hospital. She's gone into premature labor. This is your fault for coming over." "She called me Thomas," Amanda replied, her tone flat. "And you couldn't just stay away. What if something happens to the baby?" "Go to hell." She hung up, overwhelmed by a sudden, piercing headache. Searching for a pain reliever in the medicine cabinet, she took a pill and collapsed onto her bed, thoughts racing. She would need to pack his things and leave them at the door. They would no longer share a life together, and he had the nerve to blame her. Then, a penetrating thought struck her. All the doctors had confirmed her reproductive health was fine, but Thomas had never been tested. What if the problem lay with him? Maybe Olivia was having a child that wasn't even his. Ecstatic with this realization, she leaped up and grabbed her phone. "Thomas, why don't you get checked for fertility?" she nearly shouted when he answered. "Why would I?" he replied, confused. "I'm fine. Are you positive Olivia is carrying your child?" Breathing heavily, he mumbled something incoherent and hung up. A moment later, a message popped up. "You're a real snake. You're trying to turn Olivia against me. I don't believe you." "Suit yourself," she replied coldly. "You can collect your things at the door tomorrow. I won't throw them away." Amanda couldn't sleep a wink the entire night. her mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions: pain, resentment, disappointment, and pride swirling inside her. One thing was clear: there could be no reconciliation. The next evening, Thomas arrived, ringing the doorbell and banging on the door for what felt like an eternity. He texted continuously, but Amanda deliberately ignored him, sometimes even peering through the peephole to catch a glimpse. A neighbor peeked out from across the hall. "Why are you pounding on our door?" the neighbor asked. "If she's not opening it, she's clearly not home." "I know she's in there. Her salon is closed. Where else would she be?" Thomas insisted. "What happened? Did you two have a fight?" the neighbor probed. "Nothing. It's none of your business," Thomas snapped, resuming his assault on the door. Amanda's patience snapped. "Thomas, just leave already," she shouted back. "Don't you get it? I'm not forgiving you." He shifted awkwardly, clenching his jaw. "Amanda, if you keep this up, I'll leave you. Just know that." Amanda erupted into laughter, a sound so uncontrollable it bent her over. As Thomas shouted threats about their joint property and even mentioned the prosecutor's office, she fought to catch her breath. "Go wherever you like," she choked out. "There isn't a single square inch of this apartment that belongs to you. It's all mine from before you." "Fine, I'll check every last bit of my stuff. I bet you kept something," he retorted. "Keep your clothes. I don't need your rags." The divorce hit Amanda hard, and it took her nearly 6 months to claw her way out of the depths of her despair, pulling herself up like someone out of a dark abyss. Yet, she stubbornly held on to hope. She was still young and deserved a normal family, children, and the happiness that felt just within reach. A year later, she unexpectedly ran into Sarah, Thomas's sister, as she exited a fashion boutique. Sarah's smile was genuine as she asked about Amanda's life and work before suddenly revealing some news. Thomas left Olivia. That doll didn't give him a daughter after all. "I don't know who she's from," Sarah said with a sly smile. "After the divorce from you, Thomas finally went to get checked, and guess what? He can't have kids. Can you imagine? Now he's undergoing treatment, but it hasn't really worked." "He's been through a lot," Amanda replied. "Yeah, and Olivia is a mess. She's been throwing tantrums and breaking things, claiming Thomas is the father. But he secretly got tested, and you know what?" "I can guess," Amanda said, her heart racing. "Yep, no familial connection. He's using that to challenge the birth certificate in court. I do feel a bit sorry for Olivia. If the real father abandoned her while pregnant, it makes sense she clung to Tom. But he was a fool to fall for her lies, and she's quite the manipulator. That's how it is," Sarah concluded. "Is he alone now?" Amanda asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah, he's alone. He thinks about you a lot, but I told him that women don't take back those kinds of betrayals, no matter how loved they are. He doesn't stand a chance. It's a shame you two broke up. You were a beautiful couple." Amanda shrugged. "That's just how life goes." She turned to Sarah with a smile. "Anyway, I've got to run. I just opened my 3rd salon, and there's plenty to keep me busy." After saying their goodbyes, Amanda strolled down the sidewalk with a newfound lightness in her step. There was a sense of justice in the world. She didn't want to admit it, but the news Sarah shared had brought her unexpected joy. They both got what they deserved, and she was young and beautiful. She would still have everything she dreamed of. On her way, she decided to stop by her favorite coffee shop for a cup of coffee. Settling into a round table by the large, sunlit window, she slowly savored her cappuccino made with coconut milk. Out of the corner of her eye, she noticed a man nearby with a camera, actively snapping pictures of her. "Oh," Amanda said, flustered. "I don't mind the photo, but I'm not exactly camera-ready right now." The man lowered his camera and flashed a warm, friendly smile. "Are you kidding? You're beautiful. That's exactly why I'm taking pictures. Sorry for not asking first." Their eyes met, and a spark ignited between them, their hearts racing and blood rushing to their cheeks. In that instant, Amanda felt a surge of certainty. Everything was still ahead of her, and her future was filled with possibilities.